Frost and ice are frequent visitors during the winter months, and it can be very photogenic. Here are a few tips from What Digital Camera to help you to get the best results. The best light and the most impressive ice and frost are to be found at first light, as it may start to thaw as the sun rises. In these winter months you don't need to get up that early to be out in time for sunrise, so set the alarm. Never mind that old rule of thumb about always shooting with the sun behind you. Try shooting into the light for some great atmospheric images. Be careful of flare though. Use a lens hood to shield the front element from direct sun, or position yourself so that the sun is, say, behind a tree. Frost and ice are usually white and produce bright reflections, and your camera's exposure meter has been calibrated to turn everything mid-grey, so you'll probably need to override the settings that it chooses in order to avoid getting muddy underexposed pictures like this. The easiest way to do this is to adjust your exposure compensation to a positive number such as +1 stop, or alternatively set the camera to manual exposure mode and meter from a mid-tone area. You can use the camera's histogram to help you get the right exposure on a less frosty area and then recompose. To emphasize the frost, it's best to get in as close as possible to your subject. Most standard kit lenses will only allow you to within around 30 to 40 centimeters, but for best results you need a special macro lens or a macro function to enable you to focus within a few centimeters of the subject. If you don't have a dedicated macro lens, a screw-on close-up lens can be a cheap and effective alternative. Macro photography means that even the slightest movement can result in blurred images. Using a tripod will help you to get pin-sharp shots and help you position the camera into angles you might not have tried when hand-holding. If your camera has live view, use it here to aid composition. A folding reflector can also be a useful accessory. Not only can it be used to bounce extra light back into the shadow areas of your scene and give them a lift, it can be used as an emergency background or even a windbreak if you're photographing foliage on a windy day. To get everything in your picture in focus, stop down to a small aperture such as f/16 and try to position the point of focus 1/3 of the way into the zone that you want sharp. A shallow depth of field can be an effective way to draw the viewer's attention to a single detail by blurring everything around it. The wider the aperture set on your lens, the shallower your depth of field will be. When photographing grass or low-lying plants, try getting your camera down level with your subject to provide a more interesting perspective. A tilting LCD screen with live view is handy here to avoid having to lie down on the cold ground. Cobwebs also make great subjects, as the frost highlights their intricate construction. Try shooting them backlit with the light behind them, or with the light coming from the side or front with a dark background like this. Look for frost-covered windows. When glass is covered with frost, it can make for a great photo, especially when backlit, with the sun illuminating the crystals from behind. Again, it's best to use a tripod, as you'll be working quite close to the glass and your depth of field will be minimal.